From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. Glad you are with us. We are talking about the coronavirus, the new variant. But this is a chance for you to call in with any questions you may have. Talk directly with a doctor. So unlike those other shows where they talk at you, this is your chance to call in with questions about the booster, questions about the holidays, questions about this new variant. What are your questions that you can ask directly? Because it'll be better if you ask the questions. I have plenty of questions myself, but I would love for you to call in. So there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. And our guest is Dr. David Aronoff, Director of the Division of Infectious Diseases at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Dr. Aronoff, thank you so much for coming on.
Ben, thank you very much for having me. I love being on here with you, and it's a real honor.
Well, very, very good. Thank you. All right, so I will start with some questions here. This new variant, where are we with it? How concerned should we all be as far as this new variant and the upcoming holidays?
Well, we're learning a lot in rapid real time every day about this variant. It's called the Omicron variant. It's a Greek letter of the alphabet that we're sort of rolling through as we identify these variants of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It was first discovered recently in South Africa, but we don't really know exactly where it first originated. It's now been identified in almost 30 different countries around the world, including, as of today, in the United States. A lot we don't know. We don't know if it causes more severe disease than the original SARS-CoV-2 or the Delta variant. We don't know if it causes less severe disease than Delta or the original SARS-CoV-2. We don't really know if it's more transmissible than the Delta variant, although there is some suspicion that it is. And we don't know the extent to which our vaccines provide strong or weak or some kind of in-between protection against Omicron compared to how our vaccines are doing against Delta or the original SARS-CoV-2. So a lot that we don't know, but I think we're going to be learning a lot in the very recent future.
So this has gotten so much attention so quickly. And yes, as I read and watch other coverage, it does appear that we just don't know a lot. So why has this gotten so much attention? I mean, the president's held a news conference. The World Health Organization has declared it a variant of concern, and it's wall-to-wall coverage. Why has this gotten so much attention?
Well, probably for two reasons. One is it's seeming to spread pretty quickly. Right now in South Africa, at least where they're monitoring the virus, about 3/4 of all the cases of COVID seem to be caused by the Omicron variant. And all of a sudden, we've sort of identified it in about 30 different countries. So it seems to be spreading quickly. But the main reason why it's on everybody's radar is that it has a lot of what we call mutations compared to the original SARS-CoV-2. In fact, it has about 50 different variations compared to the original virus. And remember, the SARS-CoV-2 virus is a pretty simple little germ. It's basically a sphere that made of protein that contains the nucleic acid that gives instructions to infected cells to make new virus. And on the outside of that sphere are spikes. And as I've said before on this show, those spikes are really important for the virus to stick to our cells and cause infection. In fact, it's a little bit like those spikes act like Velcro for the virus. Not only are they important for the virus to attach to our cells in our body and cause infection, but that's what we're using the vaccines. We're targeting the vaccines to mount an immune response against those spike proteins. Well, with the Omicron variant, there are over 30 changes to that spike protein compared to the original SARS-CoV-2. And that's leading to questions about whether that Velcro is more sticky. In other words, we don't have to inhale as much of the virus to get infected, making it more contagious. We also don't know if those changes to the spike are making it so that the immune response we mount to existing vaccines are not leading to antibodies that bind to that Omicron spike protein very well. So a lot of unknowns, and given the fact that it seems to be getting more and more detected more and more quickly, is leading people to say we need this on our radar, and we might need to be thinking about developing vaccines that are more strategically targeting that particular variant.
Is this our future? Is our future that every so often there will be a variant and it will potentially elude the vaccine and we'll have to kind of recalculate things? Is this how it's going to be going forward, or not?
Well, you know, as I do, and I would use this opportunity to just make a quick plug to everybody to get your flu shots. But, you know, every year we get flu shots that are targeting different variants of influenza every year. And it's possible that we'll be in that kind of situation when it comes to the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So far, we've been really fortunate in that the existing vaccines have absolutely provided protection against the popular circulating variants. For example, the Delta variant. If I'm fully vaccinated, I'm harder to get to infect with even the Delta variant. And if I get infected with the Delta variant, I'm less likely to develop symptoms, less likely to end up in the hospital, less likely to die from COVID-19. And that may also be true with Omicron. We just don't know. But it may well be the thing that every so often, it may be annually, we really don't know, that we're going to have to get a booster, and maybe it'll be targeted to a variant. But the other thing I'll say is that these variants are more likely to pop up in communities or populations that have no immunity at all or are not vaccinated at all. So the quicker we can get the world vaccinated, even with existing vaccines, the slower going it's going to be for new variants to emerge, which will make all of our lives a bit easier.
How long until we have a pill? Is that something that you think we would have anytime soon? I think I've read something about a pill.
Yeah, really, really great question, Ben. So there are two pills that are somewhat around the corner. Right now, the best offense against SARS-CoV-2 is a good defense. Get your vaccines, avoid crowded indoor areas, wear masks when you're indoors, do things to prevent getting infected. But there are two oral drugs against SARS-CoV-2. One just got recently approved by the FDA that's marketed by Merck. It's called molnupiravir. And in fact, some of the earliest studies that showed that that drug would be useful against the SARS-CoV-2 virus were done here at Vanderbilt and also at Emory in Atlanta. That drug is moving pretty far along. There's another drug that Pfizer has that is a little bit farther. It's not quite as far along, and it's a combination pill that also seems to be quite effective. The goal of both of those strategies is a little bit like the monoclonal antibody infusions, is to treat people early in infection to keep them from getting hospitalized or dying. Right now, probably monoclonal antibodies do better, but again, we don't know if they're going to continue to work well against some of these new variants.
And it sounds like, and there's so many questions, it sounds like as long as there are these variants, it's only a matter of time before there is a variant that does evade our vaccine. Now, is it just then a case of tweaking the vaccine a little bit? I mean, is that is that a huge disaster, or is that just, okay, we tweak the vaccine and it's not a huge disaster? Or what about both those scenarios? Is it true that it's only a matter of time before there's a variant that evades the vaccine and then it's a quick fix, or what about those things?
That is really a great question. And remember, the virus needs some continuity to its structure to be able to cause infection, because that spike protein is important for binding to our cells. That Velcro has to be Velcro. If that Velcro turns into smooth plastic, for example, it's no longer sticky. So there's only so many mutations that the virus can gather before it actually is less effective at causing infection or causes less severe infection or becomes more of a dud. So it's not like this can continue to mutate and mutate and mutate and just get more and more and more virulent or more and more able to evade our immune response, because at some point it then loses its ability to cause infection very well. That said, there could be variants for which our existing vaccines are slightly protective, but not ideally protective. And we saw that the current vaccines are protective against the Delta variant, but probably not as protective against Delta as they were against the original SARS-CoV-2. And so do I think we could make vaccines that are better targeted to Omicron or Delta that actually work better? Absolutely, we could. How hard is that? Well, it's really a matter of taking time. The great thing is that we know now that the mRNA vaccines are spectacular. They're really safe. They're relatively easy to design and manufacture. And so tweaking them to target a new variant is possible. And in fact, Moderna and Pfizer are doing that right now. The issue is that it still takes several months to be able to ramp that up and make a lot of production, enough to distribute. So there's still a bit of a lag. And you know, every year when we choose our flu shot, if we happen to choose the wrong flu shot, we don't just instantly pull out a new flu shot. We just have a bad flu season. And so it may be that we're in a situation in the future where we think we know the variant of SARS-CoV-2 that we need to be targeting with an mRNA vaccine, for example, and it turns out to be slightly off and it works a little bit, but not a lot. But I really don't think we're going to be in a situation where we're helpless or that we can't make vaccines. We've already shown that we can make really safe and very effective vaccines against this illness.
Great. Okay, that's very good. All right, here's a question, and we have a call. I'm going to start taking calls, I promise. But here's a question. We have a tale of two families, okay? They always get together over the holidays. Families have 2 kids each. One family is fully vaccinated and boosted, has done everything that can be done. The other family is not. They're not vaccinated at all. The other family, let's say they even got COVID, you know, a few months back, several months back. Should these two families gather, be in the same house overnight, that kind of thing, for the holidays? Should these what would you do?
Well, that's a common scenario. You know, first of all, I really do think that it's worthwhile having the conversation about getting vaccinated and having your family vaccinated to protect one another. Remember, the reason to get vaccinated is, of course, to protect yourself as the vaccine recipient against getting a disease that can cause long-standing chronic symptoms and be debilitating to the quality of life, but also can put people in the hospital or worse. But the other reason is that it protects other people, and by being vaccinated, we interrupt the chain of transmission. But if you have a family that says, hey, we're not getting vaccinated, we've already had COVID a year ago, or maybe we haven't had COVID and we want to get together, then think about ways to do that, trying to reduce risk. First of all, maybe for a couple of weeks before that gathering, both families agree to lay low and not go to, you know, restaurants indoors or to rock concerts or to sport events, and do things where you're less likely to get infected leading up to the gathering. Second, use testing to your advantage. Tests are more and more affordable, and if everybody can do the rapid tests the day before or the day of getting together, and just know that right now everyone's asymptomatic and has tested negative, that can also be very helpful. Can we get that risk to zero by doing that? No, we can't. But again, we're trying to work in the scenario that you laid out, where you have two families that really, really want to get together, and one is fully vaccinated and the other's not. So I would just be trying to give my best advice to mitigate risk. It's unlikely that families are going to hang out indoors wearing masks, especially if they're eating or drinking. And so, we just have to do the best that we can and be thoughtful, because ultimately it could be somebody in one of those families who ends up in the hospital, and we certainly don't want to see that.
And one more question here. What do you expect this winter? I mean, so I'm no doctor, but I now have seen these spikes. I mean, when it's really hot, we seem to have a spike. I guess everybody's coming inside. Now it's gone down. Winter is coming, and everybody's going to be inside again. Do you expect another spike, assuming Omicron, I don't know, is just like Delta? You know, do you expect another spike this winter, or what are you expecting this winter?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I'm probably on my 5th or 6th crystal ball from Amazon, and they are horrible. And I don't know if it's the brand or where it's, I'm not sure. I've ordered a couple more, but this is really hard to predict. Now, one thing I can say is that in the United States, cases are looking like they're starting to pick up. Certainly hospitalizations are on the rise in the United States, and there are areas of the US, particularly the upper Midwest, that are really seeing a lot of disease activity, and that may be heading south towards us. We're already seeing in Tennessee that the percentage of tests that are coming back positive is starting to go back up closer to 10%. It's around 8% statewide. We're starting to see disease activity flatten out to slightly increase in areas. So even in the absence of Omicron, we're a bit concerned that we're going to start seeing increases in transmission and disease activity. The good news is more and more people are getting vaccinated in Tennessee. We're at 50% of the population of the state has gotten fully vaccinated. It's 10% less than the United States, but that's still a major achievement. Unfortunately, there are still counties in Tennessee where only 20% of the population is fully vaccinated, and that's an important thing that we need to be concerned about. But the more of us that are getting vaccinated, the less likely that any variant is going to come in here and fill up our hospitals again with people with COVID-19. I'm a bit concerned because, you know, for a couple of weeks, we've started to see college campuses around the U.S. with influenza outbreaks. And we're starting to see more flu, even in Tennessee. We're starting to see some states in the United States with high flu activity. And wow, could you imagine a collision course between influenza and Delta or Omicron this winter? That could be a really bad situation. So again, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we need to be prepared for seeing more people getting sick. And so we need to be saying, here's how you do your best to stay safe. And right now, vaccines are a great, safe, and effective way to provide protection.
All right, that sets the table for our discussion. Paul, Granger, Barry, others, hold on the line. And there's several lines open if you want to call in. 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.